Hi there, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp, and today's card showcases the awesome new June 2016 Simon Says Stamp card kit. I have taken some of the white cardstock from the kit and used a powder tool over the entire surface of my panel. I've trimmed that to 5.5 inches by 4.25 inches. Then I'm taking images from the Look for the Miracles stamp set included in the kit, or also available for individual purchase, and I am stamping those images and applying some Simon Says Stamp white embossing powder on top of those. I'm stamping 1 to 2 images at a time and then applying the embossing powder. I have not heat set it yet. I will heat set all of the images at the same time, but I don't want to accidentally stamp over any of the previously stamped images. So by applying that embossing powder as I go along, that really kind of helps me see where I have already been. I am stamping most of the images in the lower right corner of this panel and then building out up the right side and along the bottom towards the left corner. The largest floral from the Look for the Miracles stamp set is the focal point. It's going to be the largest flower, and then I'm building out from there using greenery, smaller flowers, small leaf clusters, all of those little things. So I'll just continue to keep building that up until I get it the way I want it to look. And then I will heat this all at one time. I did fill in with a few additional flowers and leaves. After I kind of had it the way I wanted it to look, I thought I needed a few more. I'll go ahead and take my heat tool then. I'm going to make sure that it's heated up really well before I take it to my paper. This is going to help keep the paper from warping too much. And then I'm going to just keep moving around my heat tool so that I don't scorch the paper anywhere. And just make sure all of that embossing powder gets good and melted. You can't really see the images very good here. I'll tip the paper in a second so you can see the design a little bit better. Maybe if I tip it that way, there you go a little bit. Next, I'm going to apply some distress ink over these images, do a little embossed resist plus color in some of these areas with my distress inks. And to do this, I am using ink daubers. They've got these great foam tips. They fit right on the end of your finger. I keep all of mine in a clear plastic box and then simply label them like I do the other ink blending tools. And I can use them over and over with each particular distress ink color. What I love about these is that they are a much smaller surface area, so you can color smaller images. Now, I'm definitely not staying in the lines. This is kind of a more abstract type of coloring. It's going to definitely be outside the lines. It's just going to color in all of these little areas, and then I'm going to blend the background with some tumbled glass distress ink. I am using all bright ink colors, great for spring and summer. I'm using spiced marmalade, squeezed lemonade, picked raspberry, twisted citron, and then a little tumbled glass here in a second as well. I'm not being too particular, like I said, about, keeping the color inside the lines or anything like that. You're definitely not going to get that with this particular technique, but it's, like I said, going to be more abstract and just create a really fun alternative to maybe coloring in the flowers, painting the flowers, things like that. The ink makes all of those stamped and embossed images really come to life. So I have just a couple more that I want to color here before I start coloring in the background. And I'll do a little pink for my smallest flower. Plus, I'm going to start with that tumbled glass distress ink as well and simply blend it all around the design. I could use the larger ink blending tool if I wanted to here for the large area, but I chose not to. I really found that these ink daubers blend really nicely. They work great, especially in all these little small areas. It works especially great. And I'm just going to blend that into some of those other colors around the flowers. I can always go back with my other ink daubers if I blend a little too much. But the whole point of this is to just kind of blend all these colors out and blend together. You get more of the hint of the color in the leaves or the florals than actually coloring them in precisely. I really worked around all those small areas first, and then I can go back and work all of my tumbled glass distress ink into that larger area. That area in the upper left corner of the card is where I'm going to stamp my greeting. I did go ahead and choose to stamp the Look for the Miracles greeting from that stamp set included in the kit. I forgot this little small flower here, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little pink to that and then color in my blue all the way around. And just keep working that ink into the area. Really quick and easy, a great way to apply distress inks to a smaller area. Once I have the ink the way I want it to look, I'm going to take some jet black StazOn ink. Because I'm stamping partly over some stamped and embossed areas, I need to use an ink that will show up over that. Otherwise, the embossed areas will resist, and I want that greeting to be in the forefront of these florals. It definitely is what you want to see first. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp this greeting with the StazOn ink. Make sure I have it good and inked up. I did have to use a re-inker because my ink pad was a little bit dry, so I am going to get a really great crisp black stamped image there. And it really shows up against the white embossing and the pretty bright colors of distress ink. I'm going to trim a little bit off the top and bottom of this panel, otherwise it's going to stay 5.5 inches wide. I'm going to take some of the black cardstock included in the kit and trim 1/8 of an inch strips to adhere along the top and bottom. That'll just frame it up and reinforce the theme there, or the black stamping on the greeting. I'll attach this to a white side fold card base, also from Simon Says Stamp, or you could create a card base from some of the cardstock included in the kit. I'm going to draw a thin line of glue using the Zig 2-way glue pen, and then adhere my black strip along the bottom edge of my panel. Once I have that precisely placed, I'm going to put something heavy like an acrylic block on top of that and glue down my other strip along the top. It's going to frame up this whole panel really nicely. Once this is completely dry and both of those strips are nice and adhered, my strips and panel were slightly shorter than the card, so I'm going to trim up my card here. I'm also taking one of those great glitter pins or neon pins. I'm using the one that's a little bit more glittery from the card kit, and I'm coloring in some areas on the florals and adding some detail. It is really going to make a huge difference in the finished card, I think. I love the little bit of sparkle and shine and the addition of a little bit of color to those pretty florals. So I started off kind of small with my glitter pin. I did go over this whole flower. It's so teeny tiny. And I thought, oh, I think I'll just make the whole thing sparkly. And I really liked how that turned out. And then I went around the edges or the lines in the smaller orange florals. Give them a little bit more of a two-tone look. And I'm going to do that for all 3 of those orange florals. Just adding a little bit of detail and a nice finishing touch to the flowers. Once I am completely finished with this, I will do the same thing to the large pink floral. I'm going to just trace those outside lines on the bloom. And there's also those little areas right around this section. And it's going to make the flowers really pop. Thanks for watching this video showcasing the Simon Says Stamp June 2016 card kit. The supplies I've used to create this card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Please subscribe to the Simon Says Stamp YouTube channel for lots of inspiration. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.